So I've heard nothing but good things about Baldur's Gate 3, and it even won Game of the Year at every major gaming award ceremony.
And the game of the year is Baldur's Gate 3.
But is it actually any good? I should start by saying I've never actually played Baldur's Gate. I played about 20 minutes of Neverwinter Nights 2 about 10 years ago, but got so unbelievably overwhelmed by all the menus and systems that I just never came back. And I have played through the openings of both Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, so I do have some understanding of how these games work. The reason I'm telling you all this up front is so that you don't think anything I have to say is rooted in bias. So, let's start with character creation. Making a character in this game is flippin' incredible. Being able to go so in depth, both visually and with skills and classes, made me feel like a kid again playing The Elder Scrolls Oblivion for the first time. Oblivion was my first ever open world RPG, and it's fair to say I was completely overwhelmed by the experience. I spent hours in the tutorial level alone, designing my character and deciding what class I wanted to play, as I had absolutely no idea where to begin. At the ripe old age of 11, Oblivion felt so open, so endless, like I could do anything I could imagine, be anyone I wanted to be. And in some ways, that is entirely true. That's one of the main reasons players revisit the Elder Scrolls series repeatedly, as there's a sense of adventure and player choice that doesn't really exist in other games. Hold my beer. Baldur's Gate 3, like other Larian games, lets you be exactly who you want to be, who you were always meant to be. And while the Elder Scrolls series may have set the bar for open world RPGs in the last decade, Baldur's Gate 3 has come to steal the crown. There isn't a lot I can really say about the character creator other than it's really good. So I'll just say that it really did feel like playing Dungeons & Dragons, which I've recently started playing with friends for the very first time. And I know Baldur's Gate's character creation is really good, because just like with Oblivion all those years ago, I just couldn't decide who or what I wanted to be, and spent well over an hour in the character creator. Not something I've done since playing Oblivion back when I was a kid. So, with our character and Guardian finally brought to life, after only 1 hour, it's finally time to play. The game doesn't explain who the Guardian is right now, so don't worry about it. All we know is she's fan. The game opens up with an exciting cinematic where Cthulhu here, known as a mind flayer, kidnaps lots of people and transports them to his ship, where he proceeds to infect them with a parasite that will eventually turn them into mind flayers themselves. He seems fun at parties. The ship is attacked and flees through a portal to what is essentially hell, and you are set free from your pod. Beginning the tutorial. During this tutorial, you're going to get a taste for how in-depth this game can really be. Well, the first thing I do is immediately plug in a controller because I don't care how good your game is. These mouse and keyboard controls are unforgivable, sir. The only downside to playing with a controller? No. The goal of this opening level is to make your way through the Mind Flayer ship in order to reach the controls and save yourself from crashing. We do this with the help of Lysel, who is, how can I put it, horrible.
Questionable intellect. Unsurprising.
And Shadowheart, who isn't just hot, oh no, she's actually a powerful half-elf cleric. Rescuing Shadowheart, however, is entirely optional. One thing that is really great about Baldur's Gate 3 is that every single one of your companions is entirely optional. You need Lysel to make it through the prologue tutorial, but after that you can go the entire game on your own, like a true alpha. The sphincter? Oh, come on, I'm just trying to live my life, man. What, destroy the brain? Oh god, no, why would I do that? And now we're on to the first combat encounter. This one is mandatory, but is pretty basic, allowing you a chance to get used to the turn-based system. I then find and choose to free Shadowheart from her pod, and we make our way deeper into the ship. I then very quickly learn about how the environment affects gameplay. Oh, well, I won't be making that mistake again. Oh look, I did it again. So we've made our way through the ship, learning how traversal, combat, dice rolls, and dialogue mechanics work. But now it's time for a real fight. The ship you're on fled to hell, and the demons aren't happy you're on their turf, so they attack. This isn't really a fight per se, as your only goal is to cross the room to reach the transponder in less than 15 turns. Pretty simple. I died. You see, the Mind Flayer believes you are one of his thralls, due to the parasite in your brain, and commands you to activate the transponder for him while he fights off this demon. I assumed that once he was done with the demon, he would very quickly turn on us, so I thought I was being clever by having Shadowheart kill him, whilst myself and Lysel made our way across the room. Oh god, what have I done?
It's your turn now!
Second time's the charm, although not without difficulties, and Lysel makes it to the controls in time. And that's it. We've escaped. We wake up on a beautiful, tranquil beach. And now we're free to do whatever we want. So to summarize, the prologue has taught us how the world is going to be explored. We're mostly going to be following very specific paths, very similar to Mass Effect or Dragon Age, as opposed to total freedom games like Breath of the Wild or The Witcher 3. It's also taught us that our actions, both verbal and physical, have consequences. And we've also learned how complex combat is going to be from here on out. All in all, I'd say this is a very solid tutorial. Well done, Baldur's Gate. I should say very quickly that most of this footage is taken from the first area of the game, Druid's Grove, as the entire area acts as a sort of extended prologue. And it's a perfect microcosm for the rest of the game, as you can make complex dialogue choices, get to know the members of your party on a deeper level, and there's plenty of combat scenarios and opportunities to test your creativity when it comes to completing objectives. Along the coast, you'll meet and acquire new companions, if you choose to accept them into your party, of course. There's Gale, the wizard with a magic addiction, Lysel, a racist psychopath, Shadowheart, the religious cultist with amnesia, Will, who exists, and Astarion, the sexy vampire. Womp womp. All of these characters will eventually have deep and complex journeys the further you progress in the story.
I hate wolves.
They always make me feel like that scared little girl all over again.
But for now, they're all a little untrusting of you and the other members of your party, so won't have much to say. This, in my opinion, is enough incentive to keep playing. I missed Shadowheart my first run through though, but I was very quickly shown the error of my ways. How embarrassing. After wandering around the coast, you will eventually find your way to Druid's Grove. This is where the game really opens up, and if the questline for Druid's Grove was the entire game, I'd be more than satisfied. You're here because you've heard there's a healer in the Grove who can help with the parasite. This isn't your only option, however. You can listen to Lysel and help find her people, as she believes they are the only ones experienced enough to help. You can help find the druid Halsin, who may possess the required knowledge to help you, or you can side with the goblins in the area who are trying to destroy the Grove and kill everyone in sight. It is entirely up to you how you approach the situation now. You're free to start exploring the world, discover side quests, and meet interesting characters along the way. If you have the skills, or rather the patience, you could slaughter everyone in sight and forge your own path instead. Before I made any solid choices, I spent time with every faction. I found the goblins to be far too volatile and disagreeable for my tastes, but I also found the tieflings of the Grove to be incredibly spiteful and racist. That leaves Lysel, who is, well, disagreeable, spiteful, and racist. She is, however, the party member that intrigues me the most, reminding me a lot of Morrigan from the Dragon Age series. Incredibly standoffish, but under the surface is incredibly complex and afraid of being redundant. I ultimately decided to team up with the druids, and that meant going to the goblin camp to try and free their leader, Halsin. I really struggled to navigate this place, and that's one of my really big issues with this game. Traversal is, well, awful. You run at a snail's pace, you can't jump without entering a special jump menu, and the camera is locked to a bizarre angle so you can't look above you, and on controller this just feels so unnatural. There better be a good reason. So, do you mind telling the board why you decided to make the camera controls so utterly shite? Yeah, because there's nothing you can do about it. Fair enough. We're done here. Ship the game. Hey Astarion, go and see what's down there, will you? Attempting to rescue Halsin proves more trouble than he's worth, as from my experience, no matter what you do, you end up in quite a large encounter. Every time I thought it was going well, the game was more than happy to prove me wrong. Whether that was getting caught in environmental attacks or missing every high percentage attack instead. So I eventually just gave up and left him for dead, opting to help Lysel instead. This didn't end super well for me either. This might be one of the most in-depth games I have ever played. If you want a truly unique to you playthrough, then trust your gut and do whatever you feel you should do. And I'm not just talking about in dialogue, of which there are thousands and thousands of dialogue options, some that rely on dice rolls too, so there's no guarantee you'll ever see that outcome, even on repeat playthroughs. What I really mean by this is if you think you should push your companion off a cliff or a ledge so that they may explore what's down below on your behalf, then you definitely should. If you think you should murder a goblin jailer, then hide the body using mage hand before locking the door behind you, then you definitely should. If you think you should steal the religious artifact thingy-majig from the druids, then you definitely should. It is so rare to find a game where if you were to talk about it with another human being, although I don't know what that's like. Well, isn't this just delightful? Why, yes, you may help yourself to a biscuit. You weren't invited. Then you would both be relaying completely different accounts to one another of the same game. In Baldur's Gate, If you want to burn settlements to the ground and slaughter children, you can. But who would do such a thing? This game is as close to playing actual Dungeons & Dragons as a video game with software limitations can be. If you're creative enough, you'll probably find a creative solution to every problem the game throws at you. The game also knows when to stop taking itself seriously, and the best example of this I found during my playthrough was when I asked Volo here to attempt to remove the parasite from my brain. Now Volo is a bard. He has no medical experience whatsoever, but he believes he has the knowledge required. Oh god, what have I done? And it was genuinely one of my favourite moments in recent gaming memory. Why did no one stop this? Oh, and Volo is not the only alternative path presented to you. Eventually, you'll meet a demon called Raphael, who offers you aid in exchange for your soul. And after what happened with Volo, well, I shan't be doing that. So you may or may not be wondering why I haven't really mentioned combat yet. And the truth is, because I tried to avoid it like the plague every chance I could. It's deep and complex, sure, if you're into that sort of thing, but dice rolls have never really done it for me when it comes to video games. If you've got the time and the patience, combat, however, could become incredibly rewarding, as it's all about positioning and action point management. I wouldn't say combat is all that difficult to grasp, but there's so much going on all the time that it can become incredibly overwhelming. For me, that often leads to putting the controller down in frustration and walking away forever. So is Baldur's Gate 3 any good? Well, that is entirely up to you to decide. If you like incredibly complex tactical combat, then you'll probably love this game. If you like incredibly deep and complex companion systems, then you'll probably love this game. Do you like one but not the other? Then you're probably going to have some fun here and there. But I'd imagine that unless you're truly in love with both of these mechanics, you're not going to stick around for a long time, which is unfortunately the case for myself. I enjoy the exploration, despite its clunkiness, and I really enjoy talking to the characters and seeing how I can sway conversations with charm skills or other magical perks. But I detest, with a passion, the sometimes mandatory combat encounters. So there you go, my brutally honest review of Baldur's Gate 3. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. Bye! Well, if you thought that was fun and in any way interesting to you, then maybe check out this one as well. I think you might have a good time kind of looking up there. Maybe it'll be up there, but somewhere here, check this video out. And why not consider liking and subscribing while you're at it? It really helps me out. Bye!